Hi there everyone, Bruno Luz here, and in this clip I'm going to show you the EQ section of our mixer. EQ is something which a lot of people have a great deal of trouble understanding, and a lot of times it is either set wrongly or not set at all. So in this clip I'm hoping to help clear up some of the mystery that surrounds that, as well as to show you one or two sample settings that you can use for your mixing. Probably the single most important thing to note about EQ is that less is better. If you can get away with no EQ at all, that is ideal. In fact, many recording engineers do not use any EQ in the tracking section of the recording process. Many audiophiles do not have tone controls on their stereo. So less is more in the case of EQ. The second thing about EQ is that the most important EQ control is the high pass filter. It is always better to get rid of the stuff that you don't need than to try and fix it later. So make sure that your high pass filter is engaged. If your high pass filter is not engaged, you will have extra low frequency content in your channel, which, unless it is a bass instrument, does not help the mix at all, and in fact can cause problems later on. So make sure that your high pass filter is properly engaged.
Okay, now for the purposes of this demonstration, the audio that you are hearing is coming from a mic that is plugged directly into the mixer. It is plugged into this channel here. The mic is an SM58 and I'm holding it in my hand about an inch from my mouth. To begin with, there are two switches that need to be set correctly. The first is this switch here, which is immediately below the input sensitivity. This is the high pass filter. It's labeled 100 Hertz and it should be in for all non-bass signals. So bass guitar, floor tom, kick drum, it should be out. For everything else, it should be in. I'll just show you what it sounds like. You pop it out. As you can hear, the bass frequencies increase and things sound muddy. Put it in and it helps to clean the sound up considerably. The other switch that must be engaged is down here. This is the EQ in switch. If it is out, the position of these knobs makes no difference at all to the signal, so it has to be in. This switch is useful for making comparisons between the EQ'd and the un-EQ'd sound so that you know what changes your knob twisting is actually making. So to begin with, the EQ section here is divided into 4 bands. Each band concerns one specific set of frequencies. High, high mid, low mid, and low. To begin at the top, this is your high frequency control, and it is set at approximately 12 kilohertz. Turning it to the right adds more treble, as you can hear, and turning it to the left cuts the treble. So this is the knob that you would go to if you need to add air, for example, acoustic guitar, or if you have a sound that sounds really harsh, you can cut your highs. Now below the highs, you have your high mids. The high mids, as you can see, there are 2 knobs. Now this really confuses some people because the way this works is that the black knob sets the frequency that is controlled by the gray knob. So if the black knob is set to, for example, this setting, which is 3 kilohertz, that cuts 3 kilohertz, as you can hear, and that boosts 3 kilohertz, as you can hear. On the other hand, if you take this and you sweep it around to 550 hertz, you are now cutting 550 or boosting 550. This can be quite useful when you're trying to find offending frequency. set quite a bit of boost and sweep the control around, and you'll hear the sound change. Keep going until you find a frequency that is really, really irritating, and then go from boost to cut, and you will hear the sound improve. The low mids are a similar setup. The black knob controls the frequency that is cut or boosted by the gray knob. So 12 o'clock position is 450 Hertz. Boosting 450 Hertz. Cutting 450 Hertz. This is 80 Hertz, so there we're cutting 80 Hertz and boosting 80 Hertz. Once again, if this gray knob is in the center position, the position of the black knob is immaterial. Bass is set at 80 Hertz, low frequency rather. This is a simple boost and cut. So that's your EQ section. Some typical settings for a vocal mic are like this for the lectern mic, as well as people who have bassier voices like me. For female singers, you can typically leave it set completely flat.
And the final thing that I'd like to say about EQ is that cutting is usually better than boosting. With less expensive mixers like the ones that we have, boosting the EQ often leads to a harsh and/or unnatural sound. Cutting usually has better results. On top of that, it introduces less phase shift and less smearing of the signal. It is always better to remove that which you don't need than to try and increase the stuff that you want, right? Just think about it. EQ is very much like cooking. There is a set of ingredients which can be said to be bass, middle, and treble. If you have too much of anything, it's no good. If you have too much, take it away. Don't try and add more of the other ingredients to cover it. It's a bit like if you have too much salt, take some salt away. Don't add sugar to try and make the dish less salty. Well everyone, that's the tutorial on the EQ section of our Soundcraft Live 4.2. I hope that this section was useful for you. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me either by leaving a comment below or via my YouTube channel or via email, and I'll do my very best to answer it for you. Until next time, this is Bruno Luce saying take care, and I'll see you in church.